The rebels' blood. In the battle with the rebels, Oyo and about 1,000 Ozulbanegs met the king's forces composed of Ozulbanegs and Red soldiers. The Ozulbanegs felt odd seeing their enemies, for in front of them were their friends, neighbors, cousins and relatives. Dionat, the Red general, ordered the Redfs to release deadly fires from the catapults and arrows in the air. Many found their marks and the first wave killed about 100 of the resistance. But they held their line. The rebels didn't know about fighting a battle then, but just used their experience in hunting and responded by releasing their own arrows to the direction of the Red army, passing the front line soldiers of Ozulbanegs. Those arrows, however, were of no use to the shields and armors of the Red soldiers. The Redfs retaliated and released the next wave that was much more severe and deadlier. 300 Ozulbanegs fell instantly on the ground and Oyo himself was wounded. Dionat saw that the rebels' line was broken and he gave the order to the front line Ozulbanegs to finish the rebels, but no one moved. The Ozulbaneg soldiers were frozen at the sight of their wounded and dead friends, neighbors and relatives from the other side. Dionat sensed that nothing would happen and commanded the Redfs to advance and attack the still-standing rebels. Though wounded, Oyo grabbed his spear and went forward against the advancing Red army. At that time, the Ozulbanegs were already losing faith and some were beginning to retreat back to the forest, seeing many of them died from arrows and burns. Oho's valor revived their will and together they joined Oyo in the attack. Oyo and the rebels died, all of them, but not without bringing with them to the grave the lives of a few hundred Red soldiers. King Myth and the still in disbelief Ozulbaneg soldiers saw everything when the Red army massacred the rebels. On that same night, King Myth threw a party for Dionat and his Red soldiers, inviting all the Ozulbanegs in the palace ground. Some Ozulbanegs who were with the Red army did not feel good about the occasion, for they were all in grief with the death of their former friends then. One of them was the young Xixs. He saw what Oyo was seeing and what he and the others died for. Ozulbaneg was falling apart. It was losing its past. He watched the jubilant king danced with the foreigners while the blood of the Ozulbanegs spilled onto their ground. He couldn't take it and left the celebration with the others who felt the same. At that same night, he and the others left the village with their wives and children into the Dika forest. The next day, news spreaded quickly about their departure and King Myth was enraged, telling the Ozulbanegs that Xixs and the others were nothing but traitors and deserters that must suffer the same fate as the rebels. He ordered, with the advice of Dionat, to run after the defectors and destroy them all. General Dionat led the expedition in chasing Xixs and the others, but unlike the rebels, Xixs was a soldier and he knew more the forest than the Redfs. They ambushed the first group of the Red army and many died without even seeing who killed them. Dionat quickly ordered to withdraw his army, realizing their disadvantaged position, but ordered to burn the forest with chaos with their catapults. This made the rebels fled in the innermost side of the forest until they found the Dika mountain that became their home for years. Since they called themselves Xixs from their god Xixs, they started to train to fight and dressed the same way as the colors of the forest in the night. They avoided going into the forest during the day, for they did not want confrontations with civilian Ozulbanegs who only searched for a living in the forest that they shared. However, there were Ozulbanegs who occasionally defected to them and fought for their cause, which made the Xixs' numbers grew in time. Several times in the past they tried to retake the land they believed to be their own, but the walls created by King Myth against them was so strong for them to get through. Ozulbanegs loyal to the king and the Red soldiers continued to repel them each time. The presence of the Red army inside the Ozulbaneg village was costing the king so much, but it was nothing to him. He needed the Redfs for his own security, realizing that not all of the Ozulbanegs in his land favored him. The walls of the Ozulbanegs were made by the Redfs for King Myth, specifically to defend himself against the Xixs. In exchange, the king gave the Red army rich products from their forest, vegetables, animals and precious stones. Tututita continued. Leonardo remembered his purse. He took it out and let Tututita see it. Like these stones? Tututita's eyes widened. He knew what those stones are. They used to mine it at the side of a volcano in Hapa and traded it with the Vamifs then. The stones that Leonardo had were very rare and wanted at Bixar, the Red land and Igathansha. It was one of the reasons for the annihilation of his tribe. He touched one that reflected onto his crystal eyes, as for many years, he had not seen one. No, but these stones can buy you many friends, especially from the north.